Welcome to another episode of RELICS Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. RELICS Radio is also now syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. You're listening to RELICS Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are listening to RELICS Radio out of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee, and a little bit of the program out of Florida with Half Redneck. We want to welcome all of our listeners live tonight on the Spreaker app. Also want to welcome all of our listeners that are coming in on the Cutting Edge Radio Network. That is our syndicated host. And then we know that you guys a lot of times are like us. You can't listen live. You got other things that are going on at the time, and so you'll be picking up the archive show. You can do that on Spreaker. Cutting Edge Radio Network also has replays on that, as does iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're just about everywhere. In fact, I guess the easy way to say it is to tell you where we're not. We're not on Netflix yet, but give it another day or two, and we may be. But I am your host, Digging with Seven.
And I am your co-host, Tennessee Jeff. How you doing, Seven?
I'm doing good, real good. And you know what we need to do is, right off the bat, before I forget it, and I made myself a note here, we need to talk about this giveaway, don't we? So we get as many people involved as we can.
We sure do. Let's talk about this giveaway.
Well, it's coming up the 26th, and today is already the 12th. We just don't have a whole lot of time on this. And we're giving away a Simplex Plus by Note to Micro, a machine that's not even shipping yet. We may get ourselves in trouble with this. But now, Deelick Gagnole, we had her, and she told us the middle of September. That's about 3 more days, isn't it?
It is. It's about 3 more days. And, I mean, all you have to do is take and post on the post what kind of coin that you think is in that jar. I have no idea. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. And that's kind of the way Mark is, and I like it. He hid that from us. We don't have a clue what's in there. Not that we were going to tell anybody, but it just kind of keeps a suspense. I don't want to know. I would rather guess myself. Of course, we can't guess.
Yeah, we can't guess. Mark Sloan?
Yeah, Mark Sloan. Mark Sloan probably already knows what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, every Note to Micro product that we have given away on this show, Mark Sloan has won. He won the Amphibio, and he won the Pulse Dive, too. So
he really did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. And of course, it wasn't rigged. I mean, it was legit. So, I mean, congratulations to Mark. And then you never know. He may win something else from Knock the Back.
He may do it. You don't ever know. And, you said that they need to guess that. There's a few other things, and I don't know everything that you have to do because I've had a pretty busy week, and I haven't really had time to go through all of it. I know you have to share, and I know that you have to guess, and obviously you need to be a member of the RELICS Radio Facebook group page. And you know what, Jeff? You know what our number is of members on that right now, right before we went on air?
It was 900, right at 1,000.
Right, we like 3 people.
3 people.
We like 3 more. We're 997. And we didn't even start the RELICS Radio Facebook group page whenever we started RELICS Radio. So it's not as old as the radio show. Of course, we're coming up on the start of our 3rd year in November. But it's done really well. And, let me say something here, and I hope that I'm not out of line, but I think that you agree with me on this as well. I know a lot of these groups get aggravated, the admin on those groups, if everybody is not real active on it. And I'm kind of different on that. I understand that we have people that are members of our radio show group that just like to sit back and look and watch at what's coming along here and not really be very active in posting. And that's fine with me. Does it bother you, Jeff?
It doesn't bother me at all. And, of course, actually, I don't post a lot of stuff on the group page. And then, that's just, a lot of times I don't have time, and then I just like to sit back and look. And then, of course, me, myself, I need to post more stuff on there. But, but it doesn't bother me at all. If someone just wants to sit back and look, that's even better. As long as you like to follow the page, that's all that matters right now. So,
yeah,
and as long as you enjoy everything that's on it.
That's right.
As long as you learn something.
And really, the only rule that we have on the page is we want you to be respectful to everybody else that is on the page. Obviously, we don't want any bad language on there, but we don't want people fussing and arguing. All of this is just to have a good time and enjoy yourself, and hopefully along the way you learn some stuff. We have some interesting posts. And there's a whole bunch of times that I get jealous whenever I see things that people are out finding, and they post on there. But that's what it's all about. We wanted to have a group where everybody could come into it and feel comfortable and not feel like you're under the gun where you have to do a whole lot of anything.
That's right. Most of us is rednecks anyway, so.
Yeah, that's right. And but we got a great show lined up tonight. We've got another guest, another topic which we have been known for especially since Mark Hoover came in and started managing us and getting our guests and everything. There's a wide variety of guests and a wide variety of topics, and no exception tonight. And I'm looking forward to this show. And go ahead, Jeff, bring our guest on tonight.
Well, tonight we've got Rich Nesbit. Rich, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Thank you guys for having me on your show.
It's our pleasure, buddy. So, of course, you're well known in the prospecting and stuff like that, and of course we'll get to that in a few minutes. But it was our honor to have you, and I'm so glad that Mark reached out to you, and so glad you said yes. Yeah. Being on the show.
And the only thing that me and Jeff want tonight, we want you to tell us the secret to make $1 million finding gold.
All right, but we got to get a pig first.
Let's start out, Rich. Right? That's right. So let's start out, Rich. How did you get started in metal detecting / gold prospecting?
As a kid, I grew up in New York City, believe it or not. And I always had a vivid imagination, whether I was floating on a little make-believe wooden boat on a pond from an apartment building they didn't build, or down by the river finding a metal chain, wondering if they used it to blockade the river from during the Revolution. And I know that's far-fetched, but I was a kid. And we moved out here to Idaho, and some friends were metal detecting, and they were telling me about it. I go, well, that sounds like fun. Let's try. And the rest is history. I just got overwhelmed. I love digging for treasure and looking for relics and coins. And then my wife and I were watching some shows, and she says, I want to look for gold. Okay. And the kids wanted to look for gold. And so we joined a gold prospecting club, and the kids, all they really cared about were floating their pans down the river. But then my wife and I, as the kids got older, decided we still enjoyed it. But she just wants to look for gold nuggets. She doesn't want to look for relics, really. And so we got her a Garrett AT Gold metal detector, and I still use that as my backup detector today for relics and for gold. And then I decided I wanted to be a prospector, and I started to volunteer a little more, and I just fell in love. I'm hooked. I got the gold fever bad. It's jonesing in me.
You know, that happens to about everybody that tries to gold prospect. I know it happened to Seven and I. I mean, of course, we found one little bitty speck of gold in southern Kentucky. And then next thing you know, me and him was tied up with a lot of money in this gold stuff. And then still hadn't, I mean, of course, go ahead, Seven. Tell them about how much money you could spend on just one little flake of gold.
Oh, man, I tell you, we went full bore. But now, you know, looking back at the history, and you can probably fill us in on this, you know, back in the gold rush of 1849, when everybody went out to California because of the gold strikes that they found out there. Rich, who made the most money out of all of that?
Well, it used to only be two people made the money. The first person to make the money was the guy who sold the equipment, and the second person to make the money was the guy who bought and sold the gold. And nowadays, there's a third person, believe it or not, that makes the money, and that's the guy that's got the TV show.
Yeah, and not the radio show, because we're not making it. Yeah, that was humorous to me because when we got the gold bug, you know, and we're going to get in the creeks and we're going to find all that we can, you know. Of course, you start watching YouTube and you go through all the documentaries and everything that you can. You want to learn everything you can about gold. And one of the first things that I learned, that most of the people that went out west and got rich were the people that were selling the equipment, you know. And, you know, I don't think it's a whole lot different today. You know, I think that we spend a lot of money and we don't find a whole lot, but there's always that chance, isn't there?
There is always the chance that you're going to strike it rich, that you're going to find just a beautiful vein of gold and pull some huge nuggets. About a month ago, a guy was metal detecting over in Australia. I think he pulled out, oh my goodness, a $30,000 nugget or something like that. Can you imagine? Could you imagine? Wow.
Oh.
So yeah, there's always the chance.
And
Sam, if we found that big of a nugget, there's no telling what we would go buy. I mean, it would be terrible.
The way we are, if we found a $30,000 nugget, we'd go out and buy $300,000 worth of equipment to go back and see if we can find another one.
Absolutely.
That's just the way treasure hunters are. Did you get the bug that bad when you first started? And you're talking about metal detecting when you first started in that. How did you get into the gold prospecting part of it?
So that was truly my kids. They wanted to dig for gold. We were watching a couple TV shows one day. Buzzard Massey used to have a show on, and they said, "Dad, let's go do that." And I said, "Okay." And we joined a gold prospecting club, and like I said, they were too little. They were busy floating their pans down the creek. But my wife and I just started digging, and when you find your first speck, it's like finding your first wheat penny or seeded dime or something. You're hooked.
Yep.
Fish on, and you just want to do more and more and more.
Yep. Yeah, it's no doubt about it. As far as metal detecting goes, do you remember the first thing that you found with your metal detector?
Oh yeah, pull tab.
Of course.
And there was a guy. Did you know that there was a guy in Ohio that invented the pull tab by the name of Ermal Fraze, and he has been the thorn in the side for detectorists for years and years and years. Do you guys, if you're aware of the story, do you remember why where he came up with the inspiration for the pull tab?
No, I've not heard this.
Well,
go ahead.
What about you, Jeff? You remember?
I don't remember. I've seen it, but I don't remember. No, I do.
Okay. I did a history clip on it. Is the only reason that I remember it. He went on a picnic, and you opened all your beer cans back then with what they called a church key, and it just put a little triangle hole in the can. Well, he went on a picnic with his family and took some beer. I don't know how much beer he took, but he forgot his church key, and he spent the whole afternoon trying to open cans of beer on the bumper of his car. And he got home that night, and he set into thinking, what in the world can I invent where you don't have to take a can opener with you? And he came up with the idea of the pull tab, and we've hated him ever since.
I will tell you, though, early on, when I upgraded, I started with a White's Coin Master, which I'm sure many people did, and I upgraded to the Prism. And all I remember them telling me was, trust your machine, and we were metal detecting this field, and my machine said there was a quarter down there, and I was digging, and my friends came by, what are you doing, Rich? There's a quarter down here, and I was digging, and then son of a gun if I did not pull up a quarter.
Oh, man.
And, it wasn't a quarter or anything, but trust your machine. Understand the machine, learn how to work your machine, and then trust what it's telling you. And I got to tell you, I do to this day.
Yep. Hey, guys, we need to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. We are very excited to announce that Calico Metal Detectors is now the major sponsor of RELICS Radio. Calico Metal Detectors has provided customers with the best metal detectors and accessories for over 60 years, and they offer the largest selection and best deals on metal detectors guaranteed. Calico Metal Detectors features only the very best of treasure hunting equipment that'll help you find coins, rings, jewelry, and relics both on land and underwater. From gold pans to metal detectors, they carry the hottest selling products on the market. And Calico is just a phone call away, before, during, or after the purchase. You can call them at 855-246-2586 or visit the website at www.calicodetectors.com. And by the way, we were talking a while ago about the Simplex Plus, and Calico is furnishing that, ain't they, Jeff?
They sure are, and that was a great gift. Well, it's going to be a great gift. So I can't wait to see somebody win it and use it. I can't wait to see the first find with it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on one of them because of the price and everything. But they're advertising it as a water detector, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I would just love to see how it's going to perform. And that's a lot of other people as well. If it lives up to its billing, it's going to be something. And everybody's just kind of waiting to see one in action like that, Hey, Rich, you've got the Richie Rich Mining Supplies website at rrminingsupplies.com. Why did you start that? Tell us a little bit about how you got into that.
Well, it kind of fell in my lap. My bride and I, we've been married for 33 years now. We want to do something when we retire that we both enjoy. And we looked at doing all sorts of small businesses, antique shops, coffee shops, so forth and so on. And I turned around and we were prospecting and digging for gold and metal detecting, and I was approached by White's Electronics and said, hey, Rich, we know you don't know much about metal detecting, but would you like to try our new machine and tell us what you think? So I tested the 24K before its release, and I fell in love with the machine. I wrote up my reports, I turned it in, and they said, hey, Rich, how would you like to be a dealer for us? And I got to tell you, it was really funny. The local mining supply dealer out here had just closed his doors. He got sick, took ill, had to shut everything down, and there was nobody out here truly working on mining supplies. And Barbara, my bride, and I talked, and we just said, all right, let's do it. And just like that, the door opened, and I stepped through, and we've opened a shop. We've been open for about 1 year now. Very exciting.
Well, good job. You also sell metal detectors, don't you? You're a White's and a Garrett's dealer?
White's, Garrett's, not all authorized dealer for them. And then we have mining equipment as well for We have the gold cube, the quick kiln. Oh my goodness, what else? Garrett has pans that we sell and so forth and so on. There is so much small mining equipment, and then there's the larger mining equipment where like high bankers, sluice boxes, dredges, and we try to focus a lot on that equipment on the resale market. Shipping on mining equipment is astronomical. A friend bought a Keen high banking sluice machine, and it's probably a $2,000 setup, and it cost him almost $600 to have it shipped out. And wow. So it's just, yeah, our goal at the Richie Rich's Mining Supplies is to get people engaged in the sport, make it affordable for them to get engaged in the sport, because you can spend a lot of money buying equipment, and then just have them keep going forward with the hobby. And I think mining, prospecting, and metal detecting all tie together. They are all similar, and they all kind of work together.
They do. I got hooked on metal detecting first, then I've kind of got hooked on prospecting. So who are your customers, and how can people reach you? I know you're in Idaho, and then is there a lot of metal detecting in Idaho, or is it just more or less metal detecting for gold?
Oh, no, there's lots of relic hunting in Idaho. And just last year, one of the guys found, I think, 13 gold coins in downtown Boise, Idaho.
Wow.
If you can imagine that. The capital of Boise, capital of Idaho is Boise, and there it is. In last year alone, he found them. So that's exciting. Lots of mining. We have more gold that was taken out of Idaho than that was taken out of California or Alaska. And Idaho is a very rare state in the sense that it was populated from west to east. So when they found gold in Idaho, it was after the gold strike down in California. I believe it was 1862 when they found gold in Idaho. So the population moved from the west coast back east up to Idaho so they could look for gold.
And
Man,
you guys,
I
didn't either. I mean, I wasn't aware of that. But that area there, and I know because Mark Hoover has been up there, and I know that Rob is up that way, but there are a lot of the old debunked mining towns up there, aren't they?
There are a few ghost towns up there, and you have to imagine it's not like they show on the Westerns. You know, the town could have been on less than 20 acres, and they might have had, so up in Placerville, Mark's been up to Placerville, they had over 4,000 people living there in this tiny little acreage. And all I ever say is, well, where are the houses? I want to go metal detect them.
Do you find any maps or anything of the occupation back in the day?
Very hard to come by. I find that I can talk to some of the old timers, and they have those maps stashed away, and they're not likely to break them out. Most times, if you're looking for gold, we tell you it's up No Tell'em Creek.
Yep, that's the best place to find it. We had a question for Bill Marsh on, I guess, gold mats. Dream mat or gold hog mat? Which one would you prefer the best?
It depends what it is you're trying to do and what kind of dirt you're moving. So both of those mats work really, really well. The gold hog mat comes in 10-inch segments, so you can mix and match those together. The other mat with the vortex on it is much better for the fine gold processing.
Now, some people that are listening may not even know what the purpose of the mat is. Tell them where the mat goes and what the purpose of that is.
So most mining, you have some type of sluice box, and then you have some way to move water and dirt over the sluice box, and everything is a variation of that. A lot of what we do up in Idaho is dredging and high banking. High banking, you take a sluice box and you add a hopper to it with a grizzly bar, and then you pick up your load of dirt, you dump it in the hopper, you got water flushing in there, and it's washing the rocks, and they fall through the grizzly down onto the plate. And under the plate is where you're going to have carpeting or rubber matting or something to help trap the gold. And so what will happen is the bigger gold gets trapped up on top in the nugget traps, and then the flour gold or the smaller gold will wash down in the sluice box. And as it goes over these riffles, so all those lines that are in the matting are riffles, and the water's rushing over it. And gold is a very, very heavy metal, heavier even than iron, and it'll settle to the bottom and stay there. And then when you're done washing all the dirt, I know that sounds funny, let's wash dirt, then you can do what we call a cleanup and unravel the gold and get it out of the carpet or the matting that you've chosen to use.
Yeah, and then that's whenever you begin to, and it's all fine stuff at that point, unless you were lucky enough to find a good sized nugget, that you could pick out, which we have never done. Ours has always been just real small stuff in the real fine tailings of that. But whenever that goes over those riffle plates, it creates a little eddy, and what it does is, to my understanding, it just keeps churning that material back and forth, and it gives that heavy gold, which is actually heavier than lead, it gives it a opportunity to just drop into that spot and just kind of hold there. And it'll pretty well stay, won't it?
It will stay unless you do something to move it. So if you shut your water off and turn your water back on, that sudden burst and rush could wash it down. If the water is too high and too fast, you could wash the gold out. And if it's too slow, your riffles will get clogged and you won't be able to trap the gold. It'll just wash out the bottom end. I had a guy call me one day and he says, Rich, I am dredging like there's no tomorrow. I'm probably 8-10 feet deep and I can't find a single piece of gold. And I'm thinking, wow, maybe you need to move. And he's telling me, yeah, I got that stuff coming out so fast, even the big rocks are blowing by. I can't even grab them with my hand. You might want to slow down a little, buddy.
Do people go through, and I know that there's quite a history of gold there, do people go through the old tailings of previous miners back in the day and find anything?
Yeah, actually, we do. And so one of the things we tell people is, if you want to find gold, go where they found gold before. And they say that the roads of Alaska are paved in gold. And Idaho is probably similar. So they have huge dredges and equipment that came through and was processing all this gold and rocks. And the rocks that were coming out, they could be filled with gold. So metal detectorists up here like to hit those tailing piles with metal detectors looking for specimen rocks. Miners like that we work with will dig that dirt up underneath it and process it, and that's where we find our gold.
Well, me and my wife, we went to Colorado on our honeymoon, and there was a little store down there, and you could tell all the tailing piles, the huge rocks that they dug out back in the 1800s, and then we stopped and asked them if we could metal detect them pilings, and they was like, yeah, go ahead. And then, of course, we went out there for a few minutes, and then, of course, I was in hog heaven. I was happy. Even if I wasn't finding anything, I was happy. And then all of a sudden, she wanted to go shopping, so we had to leave that. So, but yeah, most of your tailing piles you find just out. Unless it's on a claim or something. is it okay to detect these tailings?
Most of the tailing piles up here in Idaho are on claims, and you really should find the owners before you go on anybody's property to hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen all of those shows where people get shot. That'd be my luck right there. They don't take you to court; they just shoot you and take care of you.
Yeah, did Mark tell you about his run-in when he drove up? He wound up on the wrong place, and they came out with guns.
No, tell us about this, and we hadn't heard that.
See, Mark don't share all that good stuff with us.
No.
Well, I guess he was driving and got twisted on the roads, which is easy to do. And he wound up on a claim, and those boys came out with guns on. And what are you doing here? And this is private property, and get out of here. And which, sometimes that happens. Miners sometimes just want to be left alone. They're tired of people bothering them. They're tired of people coming on their claim and doing stuff. And then, because it's a lot of work. I was telling you guys, it's similar to someone who goes out and buys a metal detector and works 8 hours, and he finds a mercury dime worth $1.20.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you have a guy from Orlando, Florida, driving up and finding one of the biggest nuggets you've ever seen, and then here he goes.
You just want to scream.
Yep.
You know, we had one of our miners come up, and she says, "Rich, I found this with my metal detector. We're working the common dig where we're moving a bunch of dirt as a group." And I looked at it and I go, "Well, I think that's amalgam." She goes, "Really?" And I went, "Yep, let's go ask the boss." And, you know, we got a great old miner who's probably forgotten more about mining than I'll ever know. And I brought it over to him. I go, "Ray, what do you think this is?" He goes, "That's amalgam, Rich." And amalgam is mercury that has attached itself to the gold, and it looks not like pewter, not like silver, but it has that metal tarnish on it. So here it is. She's on her second time ever using a metal detector, and she finds a gold nugget just sitting on the surface.
Man.
Yeah, sometimes beginner's luck. Hey, we need to take a commercial. When we come back, though, Jeff's got a question out of the chat that he's going to ask. And also, we're going to get into what is the difference between gold prospecting, gold mining, and gold panning. So stay tuned. You know, T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. RELICS RADIO uses DetectTees.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's DetectTees.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to DetectTees.com and be sure and tell them that RELICS Radio sent you. And I'll tell you something, guys. We here at RELICS Radio, we struck gold whenever we got Detect Tees as sponsors of the show. Great guys. I mean, great products, and we've just had a wonderful relationship with those guys. And they make the RELICS Radio T-shirts. They also make the RELICS Radio hoodies for the wintertime. And this year, they came out with the RELICS Radio cooling towels. And, Rich, we're going to send you one of those, so you will need to get with Mark Hoover and give him your mailing address and everything. And Detect Tees is going to send you one of those RELICS Radio cooling towels. And they got luck with them, too, don't they, Jeff?
They sure do. I mean, I found that jetting, and I had one in my hand then. So, I mean, hey, there you go. I mean,
wow. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And you had a question there you was going to ask, didn't you, Jeff?
We do. Speaking of Mark Hoover, half redneck, do you always have to find black sand before you find gold?
Pretty much, yes. Pretty much, if you're finding black sand, that's the iron and stuff, and the gold will be mixed in with that. So when you're panning out your pan and you're washing the dirt away, as you get down to the black sand, you kind of keep a better eye on it because that's where the gold is going to be, whether it's a nugget or flour gold.
Okay. Well, I wished I'd known that a year ago.
And, you know,
it would have saved my back a few times.
And
did you throw the black sand away?
We'll say that again.
Did you throw the black sand away?
Oh, no. I was panning where there wasn't any black sand.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work. But, you know, we don't have a lot here. That's the deal. But something that I found out, and I know that it works whenever you're hunting the coast as well, as far as finding gold rings and what have you. When you start finding the lead sinkers, the gold is pretty close because they are both heavy and they're going to go down to the lowest point that they can go. They'll go down to bedrock or they'll go down to a hard pan or what have you. And what me and Jeff started doing was finding crevices that went diagonal across the creek and cleaning out those crevices. And that's where we found the gold that we found. But, man, we found a ton of lead sinkers in those things.
Oh, yeah. So what you want to look for in those crevices is hard-packed dirt and gravel. And if it's hard-packed, there's more likely to have gold down in those crevices than not.
Okay. Well, we need to go back with a jackhammer.
Tell us the difference between gold prospecting, gold mining, and gold panning.
Okay, so the first two are kind of the big ones. Prospecting is when you are actually going out trying to see where can I dig, where can I dredge for gold? What area should I dig my dirt? And then what you do is you start running what we call test pans. And so you'll go dig up a section and you'll pan it out and look to see if there's any flake in the bottom of it. And then, well, that didn't work so good, and I'm going to go try this other one. So I was up on the claim one day and I found a couple micro flecks of gold right on top of the surface. And I went, oh, I'm going to test this area out because for some reason the gold is sitting on top of the dirt. So what had happened is there was a natural runoff there, and the gold was washing down the hill and just settling in this flat spot. And I dug that dirt up. I dug about 5 test buckets, and I processed that, and then I got out the gold pan. And then I processed that all the way down, and I didn't find any gold at all, which is not an uncommon occurrence. But that told me I don't want to mine there. So mining is when you've determined this is where I'm going to dig, you start digging down and you start digging down. So we started digging this one spot, a different spot, and we started finding gold and more gold. And the deeper we got, the more gold we found. And just last week, we got down to bedrock, and one of the guys found a crevice that he can get his whole arm into, which means we got to open that up even wider to find the gold underneath. So prospecting, you're out looking, where should I dig? And you're testing. You're taking soil test samples and you're processing it. And then mining is when you actually start digging all the way down and moving yards and yards and yards of dirt. And then panning is at the very end when you're doing cleanup. You take all your concentrates, take them out of your sluice box, throw them in your pan, and then you work it down to see if you got any gold.
You know, Rich, we were talking about the blue bowl earlier. What's the best thing you've seen to actually get down to the fine gold?
So I believe the gold cube is the actual best product on the market right now for that. And there's 2 different ways to do it. You can screen your gold, so you take a classifier down to about 1/8, and then you can run it through the gold cube. Or you can put a high banker assembly or a trommel assembly. Trommels work great, and you can run it through that after you've run it through your high banker or sluice first. And what that does is it creates a natural waterfall on the different levels for the gold to get trapped in. So there's a place over on the coast called Cape Disappointment, and they use the gold cube. They'll stack them 5 high. Most gold cubes are 3. Sometimes 4. They'll stack them 5 high, and they'll just wash all the sand through the gold cube, and it catches the gold. It catches it and keeps it where that waterfall is. It is an amazing, amazing tool. I'm fascinated with it.
And after they run the dirt through the gold cube, then what do you do with it? Do you still have to pan it out, or how does that work?
I would recommend panning it out because you still get some tiny rocks and sand and black sand in there. It gets a lot of it out, but it doesn't get all of it out. Probably the absolute best method, and I might get us in a little bit of trouble here, is to use mercury to get it out of the black sand. And you can legally do that, and there's ways to reclaim the mercury with chemicals and or what we call retorting. And as a matter of fact, on our last common dig, we got mercury mixed in with the gold, so we had to run it through the retort to get the mercury out and reclaim the mercury without putting it into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I say, I don't think Seven and I were able to do the mercury. I think we ought to leave that to the professionals. So.
Yeah, I think so too. But you know, there is a heavy substance that comes out of the creeks that has a high mercury content in it, doesn't it? And I wasn't aware that there's just about mercury in every creek.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as you're not eating the mercury, or as long as you don't have open cuts on your hands or whatever you're using to touch the dirt, you should be okay. But again, it can be dangerous.
Yeah, it was a big surprise to me. Just on the lay of a creek, if you just walked up to a brand new creek and you've never worked it, what are you looking for? What are going to be your more productive areas on a given creek?
I am looking for where smaller creeks converge with a larger one, and then I'm going to go a little bit downstream of there. I'm looking for bends, because bends act like natural riffles and help get the gold out of there. And then I would look for large boulders that have cracks in them, because they'll act like natural sluices, and the heavy gold will get trapped down in the bottom of those. And I like the inside bend of a creek, not the outside bend.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is there a reason why you like the inside?
Yeah, because as the gold's rushing down, it's heavy. And again, if you move the water too slow, you don't trap the gold. So on the outside bend, a lot of times the water is slower, but on the inside bend, it's quicker. And if you go just downstream a little bit, not real far, just a little bit, and look down there, you have a good chance of finding gold down there.
Man. So we've got a question for Mark Thomas. What about using a magnet to carefully remove the black sand? Do you do that any?
You can do that, and I use actually a 3-pan process to do that. So you take the first pan, and all 3 pans should have water. You take your magnet, and you run it over the top of the sand, and it pulls out a whole bunch of black sand. And then you go to your second pan, and you release the black sand. Most magnets for mining have a release button on them. And so you release your black sand, and you move it around in that pan a bit, and then you run the magnet over the top of that again. Then you go to your third pan and drop it in a final time. And you will find gold in the second pan, sometimes the third. Because what's happening is you're picking up so much of that black sand that the gold just gets trapped in there. It has no place to go. It can't fall out. And by rinsing it or washing it in those other pans, you can find more of the gold as you're digging. And not all black sand is magnetic. So once you're done, you still have to go back and get rid of the black sand that might be in there. Question I get all the time is, hey, Rich, where can I sell my gold and how much will they pay? And I go, well, anywhere from 65 to 90% of spot price. Depends how much black sand and other dirt is in your material.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So I don't think we can use our brute magnets to get our black sand out of them.
No, because we can't release them. I never did buy one of those magnets, but they've got a button on the top of them. After you pick that up, you can hit that, and it will actually drop all that. It will release it. But that's just most of black sand is iron, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, I done that with a old speaker battery, just the old round one, and I would take a cloth and wrap the speaker in the cloth, the magnet in the cloth, and then run it over the black sand, and then I would do it that way. But I mean, of course, they make stuff for that, so there's no sense of rednecking it like that.
Oh no, that makes you a miner. Miners do stuff like that all the time. I have a rare earth magnet that I use to test the rocks with, and I didn't have my panning magnet, so I took a cloth, wrapped it around that, and I was pulling the black sand out with that because I wanted to find the gold. So no, that makes you a miner.
Hey, I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you're innovating. That's what you're doing there, and that's necessity has been the mother of invention. You need something, and then you figure out a way to do it. Of course, that's what Irma Fraze did with the pull tabs, and we don't like that. But what is the biggest nugget that you've ever seen found where you were present there whenever the people found it?
Honestly, most of the people that I know that find nuggets don't weigh them, and I don't know why. The first nugget I ever found was 0.4 grams. And so let me kind of put that in perspective a little. An ounce of gold has 31 grams in it. And so basically I found, a half of 31, right? Anyway, a half a gram. But we spent 3 days moving 26 yards of dirt amongst a group of people, and we wound up with 10.5 grams of gold. And in one day, in a few hours, I found 0.4 grams of gold. I would much rather find those big nuggets than
imagine
what we're finding.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah. And we need to run another commercial break here real quick, and then we'll come back, and then we'll begin to take phone calls after another 5 or 10 minutes. But we'll be right back. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger Magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger Magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger Magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on RELICS Radio. And by the way, guys, I am the producer and one of the co-hosts on American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup every Monday night with Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert, and that's Monday night at 9 o'clock. And we'll go ahead and open up the phone lines there, Jeff. You put it in chat, and I'll say it here. It's 270-495-0315. And we will take your questions for Rich here with Richie Rich Mining Supplies. And I'm sure that he can answer any question that you have. But our next question is, what kind of metal detector do you use?
So that depends on what kind of metal detecting you want to do. If I'm looking for gold nuggets up here in Idaho, I'm running the White's 24K. If I'm looking for relics up here in Idaho, and it's a little embarrassing, but I run one of the older MineLab SEs, and my backup detector for both is the Garrett AT Gold. I know how to use the Garrett to look for gold. I know how to use the Garrett to look for relics. Each of the other two machines work better. And the reason I chose the White's 24K is I did side-by-side comparisons with a Fisher Goldbug 2, a MineLab Monster 1000, the Garrett AT Gold, and the White's 24K. And the White's 24K outperforms all of them. The Monster 1000 runs at 45 on the...
Kilohertz.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. On the kilohertz,
yeah.
Yes. The White's 24K runs at 48 kilohertz, and the only one that outperforms the White's 24K is the Fisher Goldbug 2, which runs at 71 kilohertz. However, most of the people with the Fisher Goldbug 2 are constantly dialing and fixing and adjusting the dials for the dirt they're hunting, which makes the self-adjusting machines work so much better. So much better.
Well,
turn them on.
Yeah, but you're talking about the kilohertz on those machines, and they seem really high on the kilohertz compared to the AT Gold, which is only about, 17 kilohertz?
Right, which is why it doesn't even come close.
Okay.
When I did side-by-side comparisons with nuggets, we're talking the difference of inches of how deep you can detect a nugget. And we were hunting with Lucky Larry one day, who did not have a machine specific for gold. And he goes, well, and we found some. We were with Rob, Spud Digger, and we found some. And he goes, well, let me run my machine over it. And he ran his machine over it, and he couldn't hear it. He goes, let me see one of those metal detectors. And we handed him one, and he runs it over. He's like, what a difference.
Yeah.
Now, his machine found gold and can find gold, but it doesn't do as good a job, doesn't get the same depth as the White's 24K or the MindLab Monster 1000.
Yeah. And if you'll remember, Jeff, you remember when we had Rob Johnson on as a guest, they were just introducing that White's 24K at that time, weren't they?
Yeah, they sure were. And then they talked like it was going to be a good machine. So evidently it is a great machine.
Yeah. Hey, we got Denny Morrison on the line. What's going on tonight, Denny? You got a question for Rich?
I'm just sitting here listening. Rich, have you ever tried a GPX 5000?
So the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is up here in the mountains of Idaho, that machine is too big and too powerful. Now, if you were to go down in the desert, down in Arizona, that machine would be far better than any of the machines I've mentioned today. The machines I've mentioned today are all VLF machines that work really well up here in the mineralized soils.
Then that means my Deus would probably work up there with a high-frequency coil.
That is very possible. Come on up and we'll give it a whirl, and I'll let you borrow a couple of mine, and we'll see how well they work.
Well, I got a question. Do you ever hunt Georgia, the gold fields?
No, I have not. No, sir.
Because that was the original gold mines. That's where the first gold coins ever came from.
Yeah, that was the original gold rush was there in Georgia.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever hunted down there, Loy?
No, No, Heath keeps asking me, but I haven't. We got a couple more callers that have come on here. Need to bring in Charles Dessler, and somebody's got the sound up.
Hey, that would be me. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me, Lloyd?
Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, James, hang on. We'll get to you after we get through with Charles here.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I just wanted to, getting back to the metal detectors, I run a Deus, and we can get all sorts of coils for that, of course. And the small elliptical, I think, will go up to 81 kilohertz, I think. So would you think that would be the hot shot there in the Deus lineup?
I think I would love to give it a try and see how it works up here. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So, and that was my next question and I wondered if you'd ever used the Deus for prospecting. And actually the new ORX, I guess, is, I think that is kind of billed as a gold prospecting out of the box. So, yeah, that was, I was glad to hear that when you were talking that the higher frequencies are suiting you better for the small nuggets, I'm guessing, is what you're picking up there.
Right. So we're picking up half-gram nuggets and a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit bigger up here. Couldn't tell you, but also we're finding specimen rock. And so if you were running one of those really high-end machines like the 5000, you're going to dig 12, 14 inches deep and find a nail, a cut nail, a square nail, and you're going to say interesting words.
Right. Yeah, I used to live in northwest Montana. We'd come across US 2 into Idaho, into Coudersport and Bonners Ferry area. But we actually live on a homestead that had a 1,000-foot mine into the side of the mountain. And
wow.
Yeah, the tailings pile was out there, and of course, it wasn't our property, so we didn't have total freedom to do what we wanted. We didn't really know what we could or should do at the time anyhow, but I'd give anything to live back there now and work that tailings pile over. I still got some specimen rocks I brought home, quartz, and you can see the silver in the quartz, and I'd love to work that over now, but back then, this was back in the mid-'90s, mid to late 90s when we were out there, and you just didn't have access to information. The stuff just didn't have any clue on how to do stuff back then.
Well, come on back for a visit. We'll help you get you to a location.
Yeah, I'd like to get back out there. I might stay though, so I'll just warn you. I love the West. I love it out West. But Lloyd and Jeff, I appreciate you guys letting me call in, taking the call. I appreciate the guest there. He's really interesting. So
okay,
I'm going to get off and let the other guy come on. And I appreciate you guys.
Okay,
yeah, thank you for calling.
Appreciate the call there, Charles. Go ahead, James. We got you here.
Richie Rich!
James, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing great. Tough Run Metal Detecting. What a great site. You guys should check him out. He has got the passion like I cannot describe. Can I talk about you for a minute? Would that be okay?
Sure, but this is about you. You know, I was on before. So.
No. I want you guys to listen. You know, Kevin Hoagland is the head of the GPAA, which is the Gold Prospectors of America Association. And he put on a little YouTube video, lasts about 5 minutes, and you should really listen to it. Talks about what it means to be a pick and shovel miner. And what they talk about there is it's really not about going out and getting rich. It's about going out, being with people with the same mindset, digging the dirt, working the dirt, being out in the earth and the land, and finding just a little bit like they used to do. And James, that's what you do. You get excited over finding a nail and a pull tab in the park. And I just love your enthusiasm about that and how you share that with everybody. So thank you for being such a great ambassador.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you for that.
He's a great guy. We had him on as a guest, and his whole family is behind him. We had more calls. His family called in before we ever brought him on the show.
She did.
I did not expect that.
We didn't either, James. We sure didn't. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask Rich tonight on the show?
I did. So I'll be honest. I just started listening about 20 minutes ago. I was driving. Well, I'm driving. But I was listening, and you guys were talking about gold hunting. Well, I found my first piece of gold up there in the Idaho mountains this year. This last time I went to Diamondville, and I was using the Deus HF coil, and I just heard the guy before me talking about it. It worked very well, but I will tell you that my nugget, I was getting about maybe 2 inches on it. It's a tiny nugget. You can see it on my Facebook and my YouTube video where I found it. But I tested it on the 24K machine, and it was getting 4 or 5 inches on it. So, that's a testament right there to how sensitive the white gold machine is. So I saw that firsthand, and I was able to find gold with that elliptical HF coil. But, man, that white machine is just crazy. So.
Now, what do you think?
Thank you for that. Thank you for the knowledge.
Yeah, what do you think the difference is, James? What makes that machine so much better than the other ones?
I don't know. I don't know exactly everything about the technology in there, but I know there's some new technologies in it that allows it to cancel out a lot of the ground noise, and that helps you pick up some extra depth on those targets. So,
yeah,
I don't have one. I've only tested one a couple times. Every time I go to Diamondville, I've played around with it a little bit. But like I said, it has technology in there that makes it extra sensitive, and I don't know what that is. So,
So James, does the Deus have automatic ground balancing on it?
It does. So that was my first time hunting for gold with it, to be honest. And I was playing around. It took me a while. I only found my first nugget there. But, I kind of figured it out. I was playing around with the gold fill setting and a couple other settings. And so it does cancel. I'm not exactly familiar with all the parts of tuning it quite well. But, I had it tuned in, and I picked up a nugget. It's funny, because I was hunting the hillside, and I didn't find anything, and I was going too fast. And one of the guys there was telling me, slow down. You got to slow down with those because you got to let your threshold work. And so I slowed down, And I was tired because it was hot, so I went and sat down in this area where there's just some rocks. It looks like a nice place to sit. And I was playing around with the settings, and I was swinging it, and I got a hit. And I was like, no way. So I looked down, and there's this rose quartz rock about the size of my fist. And I'm like, no way there's a piece of gold in there. I thought it was like, oh, there's got to be lead or a nail or something underneath. And I tested it, and Jim McCulloch, one of the Nugget guys there, he came over to me. He's like, break it open. So I put it in my glove, and I smashed it carefully into pieces, and I checked all the pieces, and sure enough, I got a piece of gold in there. So it was pretty cool.
Wow. So you took the advice and slowed down a lot.
I did. I was going way too fast. I'm used to, the Deus is fast, and some of my other machines are fast. And, you can swing, like with my DFX, I got a little extra depth when I was hunting with a friend of mine, enough to pick up some gold gilt buttons that I was missing by not swinging fast enough. So you think, if I swing faster, I get a little bit more depth. That's the case with, like, relic hunting and stuff. But with gold hunting, you have to slow down and let your threshold work so it can pick up those tiny pieces.
Right. Well, the next time you come up here to Idaho, let's switch you over to a round coil instead of elliptical, and we'll see how much better it works. I recommend that for everybody running the White's 24K. Take the elliptical off, put the round one on.
Yeah. No, that's the only HF coil I have for it. I got it from my brother. Okay. So
there you go.
Yeah. But it was a good experience. It was good to see the difference and sensitivity that the 24K had. And I saw that before too with other like coins and stuff that Spud Digger was testing. He was easily getting 1 to 2 inches more on some of those. So,
well, very interesting. And I tell you what, I'm glad you called in because we were asking that question about the Deus, and so you've answered that. We've got your buddy on the line waiting to get on, and we appreciate the call, James. Best of luck to you and everything that you're doing. But we've got Rob Johnson on. What's going on tonight, Rob?
Hey, how are you doing, guys?
We're doing great.
Good. It always blows me away. You take people up to your honey holes and they find holes. I'm not doing it anymore. So I have a question for. Oh, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, you take them to your honey hole, and then you're surfing on the internet, and here they are on the radio telling everybody.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead there.
So Rich, if I wanted to get into a basic kind of go to the mountains and look for gold, if I have a little claim, what kind of stuff would I need apart from the White's 24K? Okay, but what kind of stuff would you recommend I pick up to get started?
Hey, great question.
Sure. Yeah, what I would first recommend is you don't get your own claim until you give it a try. I would join a club. And really, like our club, the Idaho Gold Prospectors Association, we will rent you equipment that you can test. We'll rent you a high banker. We'll rent you a gold grabber. We'll rent you a dredge. So then all you really need is a shovel, a bucket, a gold pan, and a classifier. And then come out with the club. We just hosted a common dig up on our claim where we paid the backhoe to come in and dig up 26 yards of dirt, and then 38 of us moved that 26 yards of dirt in 5-gallon buckets and processed it through high bankers, trommels, gold grabbers, and then we took all the concentrates, brought it over where we had the Desert Fox blue wheel and we had the gold cube set up, and we were processing all the concentrates, and in 3 days, we wound up with 10.5 grams of gold. And if you have never prospected for gold before, you got to try carrying buckets, digging dirt, running the machines, running the cleanup machines, and seeing how it's really done. So you could start with just a shovel and a pan, and then add on.
Cool. Thanks for that. It's always good listening to you guys. Thank you for everything that you do. And don't forget,
Thank you.
Don't come to my honey holes anymore, you little tinkers. Thanks, guys.
I really want to come up there and hunt with you sometime, Rob. I really do. You sound like my kind of guy, although you can't talk that redneck.
Well, I am from southern Tennessee near Jeff. Can you not tell by my accent?
Yeah, no, we were having a little bit of trouble with that, I'll tell you.
I could understand every word you said.
Well, I love, and Rich can tell you, I love seeing people find things for the first time. And to me, I enjoy seeing people finding the joy in the hobby. And anybody out there who's listening are welcome to come up to Idaho, and we'll take you out and we'll show you some places. And you're welcome to come metal detect with me anytime. Anybody is.
Okie, he's a good friend of mine up in Washington State. And he speaks very highly of it. And he came up there and found some tokens, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. And actually, James is the one who found the rarest token from that site. There's only 3 in existence, and he has one of them. But, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff up there.
Yeah. I think y'all have a top-notch operation up there. I really do want to get up there. I've heard a lot from Okie, and I've heard a lot from Mark and different people that we've had on, and I think you're a class act, Rob. We appreciate you calling in tonight.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Let other people on.
Okay.
Right, thanks, guys.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you at Pound of Ground, Rob.
I'll see you there. I'm excited to go there.
Yep, I'll see you then, buddy.
Yep. All right, buddy. We'll see you then. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, we had, Rich, we had a question that came in.
Okay.
And it was, I had to go back here and find it.
Have you ever...
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever run into any bears or any dangerous wildlife where you're out prospecting or mining?
Yes. So about 2 weeks ago, I keep talking about the common dig we were on. There was one of the miners, his family was with him, and they were up looking for elk. They had a face-to-face encounter with a cougar right up the road.
Wow.
Yeah, she couldn't get her gun spun around and loaded quick enough.
Oh, I bet.
That'll catch her off. So, yes, we do have run-ins.
And Denny Morrison was wanting to know if there's any rattlesnakes up in your neck of the woods.
So there are rattlesnakes, not usually way up where we are up in the mountains that high. They're usually a little lower. And for the most part, if you leave them alone, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about, like I tell people, there are lions and tigers and bears, oh my, up there. But the thing you really have to watch for, believe it or not, are the cattle, because it's free range. And those cattle live up there with the bears and the cougars and the coyotes and the wolves, and they survive. And they don't move for anything. And they are not scared of you in your car. So you get some wild game up there.
It sounds like it. And, you gave some really good information there a while ago on the question that Rob asked. And I think it's true in almost anything that you do. Before you go head over heels into something, get with a club or get with a group and try it and see if you like it before you go out and spend a lot. And then you get to run the equipment, you get to see what it will do, and you have a better idea of what you're going to need.
Correct. Absolutely. And honestly, if the club or the group you're with isn't open and helpful in sharing, find a new one. Find a new one. Because most of the people I meet would give up whatever you need to help you succeed while you're up there and help you figure it out, because they love it so much they want others to enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
And that's right everywhere. Of course, we have Seven. We have a lot of people coming down here, and I mean, we love to give them a good spot, and we want to see them find something. I mean, if somebody comes here and never found anything colonial, never found anything Civil War, we put them on the best spots that we can put them on to make sure they find something. So I guess gold prospecting and mining is the same thing, same way.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
And Mark Sloan asked a question as well. Are there any environmental laws that you guys are under when you're in the streams or creeks there?
Yes, so you have to have permits for the water, for diverting the water, and how you use it. So one of the things we do is we divert the water from a creek. We have a permit for that, and we put it into a reclamation pond. And so what that does is that allows the water that comes out of the creek, as we're using it to wash the dirt, it gives it a chance, the dirt to settle, and then the water to pass back down to the creek clean again. And in the only dirt you're allowed to wash in the creek itself is the dirt that's in the creek. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing that. In addition to that, there are other programs that come out on our main claim. So on the Idaho Gold Prospectors' main claim, it's called the Miss Lucy. We move enough dirt up there that we actually have to have a plan of operation that we submit to the Bureau of Land Management that talks about what kind of reclamation work we do, what trees can we cut down and move out of the way, and then how do we fix it back to where it looks better than it was when we first started mining on it.
Yeah, I tell you, is this government land that you're talking about that you're working on, or is it private land, or does it matter?
Well, it's both. So most of the claims in Idaho are on public land, and you just have a claim to process the minerals on it. There are some that are private. So Rob's claim up in Diamondville is private, and it actually has switched hands, and we don't know if we'll be able to hunt on it as much as we used to. Miss Lucy is on the Bureau of Land Management land, so we're responsible to them. And then there are others that are on the U.S. Forest Service land, and you're responsible to them.
Yeah, a lot of bureaucracy there. But what you're talking about, though, is as long as you are in the creek, like digging out the pockets or things like that and then running a sluice there in the creek, you're in pretty good shape. But it's when you get out on the bank and you begin high banking or digging and everything, that is what they don't want put right back into the creek. Am I right?
Absolutely correct. They want you to have some sort of settling area where the dirt and the water can go, and then it can process itself out.
Is there a reason behind that regulation?
You know, I don't know what it is. I know they just are trying to protect the fish and everything else that grows in the creeks that goes downstream, but I've never studied the science of it.
Yeah, I was just interested in it because at the lakes and everything, you know, we will have banks that in the spring or even in the fall, whenever you get the fall rains, it will raise the water level way up and work those banks really, really high. And I can't see much difference between that and a creek where you have a lot of rainfall or you have a lot of snow melt and gets those creeks up. It's going to work at bank up high where you'd have the high banker. It just kind of seems like you're splitting hairs to me.
Yeah.
That is very possible, but imagine in the old days where they would take a water hose and they would wash an entire mountain down. So they would pressure wash this entire mountain to get the gold out. So they're looking at bigger operations in addition to the smaller operations.
All that sediment would go in the rivers and then start clogging stuff up.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right. And so, it might affect the spawning grounds and everything else. It's a science I have not studied.
Yeah.
Okay. Denny, do you guys have rangers walking around checking, or are you guys check once a week or once a month, or how does that go?
It depends. If they're in the neighborhood, they'll stop by and say hi, see what you're doing, see how it's going. Every year we have to file our letter of intent, and now it's switched over to a plan of operation, and every year we'll have to file addendums to the plan of operation, and they may come up and look around. Sometimes they'll send up the forester to come up and look around, make sure we're not wiping out too many trees. It depends, but they're not as many as there used to be. You know, the government's downsized a little. We used to have 3 people looking over the area, and now we're down to 1. So it makes it a lot harder on them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And it doesn't take but 1 or 2 people to really, really mess things up and create a situation where they have to implement some kind of regulation, which you're probably not going to violate anyway, but it just makes it harder on everybody else, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. So picture, if you will, you go to your favorite local school, and you're going to metal detect, and you look out, and all you see are big dirt piles everywhere where somebody else was digging and didn't bother to fill in their holes. And I know you guys are like me. If you see that, you get mad, and you'll fill those holes in for them.
Yeah.
But that's all it takes is just one person doing something wrong, and everybody gets a bad name, and then the school district says, no more digging here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys wouldn't do that anyway. Neither would we.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it only takes one to really mess it up for everybody else. And, you know, I liked what you said a while ago. You want to leave a place better than the way you found it. And that includes picking up trash or anything else, you know. I mean, treat it like it's your property, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And you can't do everything all the time, but if you do a little more each year, it's going to be better every single year.
That's right. I mean, it will be. And, I mean, of course, I don't know if you want to give this out. Of course, how many ounces? If a guy worked hard throughout the year, I mean, how many ounces would he bring home, or would he even bring home an ounce? I mean, just depending on, I guess, what part of the state of Idaho you're in.
Right. So it depends on the equipment you're using. If you're using a pick and a shovel and you work for about 2 months, you'll probably wind up with about 15 to 30 grams of gold. If you're using a backhoe and a wash plant, you'll probably find a lot more.
Yeah.
And we got guys up there that do both. And so the one guy I'm thinking of, I said, well, how'd you do? And he won't give me numbers, which is fine. He goes, I covered all my expenses this year. And I think that's awesome. He's not trying to make money either. For him, it's a hobby. But he covered all his expenses, and he runs backhoes and big, heavy trucks and everything. And I thought, well, good for you. That's a great hobby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you know it takes a lot of money to run the big trucks and the backhoes and all that. So I guess the more dirt you move, the more money you're going to make. I mean, that's the way it is.
But the more money you're going to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we got time for maybe one more call, 270-495-0315. If you've got a question that you want to ask Rich here, we'll call in to 270-495-0315. Now, Rich, there's a lot of people that are not like me and Jeff. They're not going to go out head over heels and spend a whole lot of money. Can somebody just take a shovel, a 5-gallon bucket, a 1/4-inch classifier, and a gold pan? Can they go out and be successful with that?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. If you're happy finding a few flakes of gold, then you are going to be extremely successful. Remember we were talking about joining a club and doing things like that? The only thing you had to bring with you on the common dig we had were your 2 hands, and you got to help, and you would have gotten, when we divvied up the gold, it was just over 1/3 of a gram each to each person who helped. So yes, you can do it by hand with just a pan, and one guy I know uses a spoon to dig the crevices out. He doesn't even use a shovel, and he finds gold. So yes, you can be successful.
Yeah. The only thing is, if you're like me and Jeff, once you get one thing, then you know you got to have something else and then something else, and it's just a never-ending process. And, you can move more dirt, and, you can process more material, but while you're doing it, it's costing you more, and you're having to work harder to pay for what you've got. So go out there and spend just a little bit and enjoy yourself. And then if you want to jump in it head over heels, well, go ahead, because Rich can give you the stuff you need there at RR Mining Supplies, can't you?
You got that straight. Thank you. Yes, I can. And I love that idea.
Yeah, and how do they get a hold of you? How do they reach out to you? And do you have a catalog, or on the website there, are we able to go and see all the products that you have for sale?
No, we're not that advanced. We only opened up last September, so this is our anniversary year, our first year. I have a Facebook page as well. The easiest thing would be to call me. You can reach me at 208-918-8950. Or you can send me an email, rich@rrminingsupplies.com. Either way, I would love to visit with you and talk. And honestly, when people come to my store for the first time or call me on the phone and they've never been out looking for gold before, those are my favorite people. Because I get to sit with them and say, what is it you're trying to do? Give me an idea of what you want to accomplish and what kind of health are you in? Can you lift 5 gallons of dirt? Well, maybe we need 2.5-gallon buckets instead. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you we'll have a good visit, and you'll learn something about finding gold, and you'll leave there with some of the stuff you need and ideas about what you might like.
Sounds good to me. And
heck yeah.
You know, Seven, I've got a plan here. You know, everybody back in the day, they would have a bunch of kids, and they'd keep on saying, well, you keep on, you're going to have a football team. Well, hey, sooner or later, we're going to have a mining team. So, hey, you just have a bunch of kids and have them to do the work, and you sit back.
We're going to have to get somewhere where there's a lot of gold in order to make that work, because I tell you, mine are going to, the illusion's going to be gone real quick whenever they don't make any money at it.
Well, that's mine, and sometimes you find it, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you make money, and sometimes you don't.
Yep. But it's just I don't know whatever part of treasure hunting that you get into, whether it's metal detecting or gold prospecting or whatever, it's just the opportunity that you have to pull something out of the ground that has some value, either money value or historic value, or something that you never dreamed that you would wake up that day and find. Isn't that the allurement of all of these hobbies in a nutshell, don't you think?
Absolutely, yes. It's the lure of what am I going to find? Oh, I got a noise. Oh, I started digging a hole. And at the end of it all, what's there? What are you going to find?
Then you go to your next one.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
But I'll tell you what, I've dug a few of those pull tab signals that turned out to be gold rings. I think I've got probably 7 or 8 gold rings right now. And Denny is calling back in. He's gonna take care of that last call. Okay, Denny, the floor is yours again.
Hey, I got a question. I know in North Carolina and some of those places they find gems in creek beds. Do you find any gems out there besides gold nuggets?
Well, we are the gem state, and the answer to that is absolutely yes.
Uh-huh.
We find crystals and stuff down in there. If you check out Stewart's Gem Shop in Boise, Idaho, his dad actually found the Idaho garnet, and they named it after him. And we find garnets in our gold pans all the time. As you're cleaning them up, you'll see people with a little cup on the side, and they're just pulling them garnets out and dropping them in there.
Cool.
So, yeah, we do find gems up here.
Any diamonds?
I don't think we have diamonds up here. I believe there might be some opal, definitely petrified wood, gemstones like that, firestone a little bit.
Yeah, cool. Firestone is cool.
Yeah.
How about flint?
How about what?
Flint. For arrowheads.
No, I have not heard of anybody finding flint, no.
Okay. All right, good deal. Well, thanks a lot. Good show, Loy, and good guests you have tonight. Mark did another good job.
He really did. And a great question, Denny.
Yeah.
All righty. Good night, you guys.
All right. Talk to you later then, Denny.
All right.
I tell you what, Rich,
Thank you, Denny.
You've been a great guest tonight, and we've all learned something. And give out all your sats once again, how they can get a hold of you, your phone number again. And, folks, get you a pencil and a piece of paper right now, because he's fixing to give you out his own private number that you can call him and sit down and talk to him. He will help you through what you need, what you don't need, and steer you in the right direction. So go ahead, Rich, and give out your website, your Facebook, your phone number, Social Security number, anything you want to give.
Well, you'd have to explain that one to my wife, and I don't think she'd like it.
No.
So y'all can reach me at 208-918-8950. You can email me, Rich, at rrminingsupplies.com. You can look for my Facebook page under the same name, RR Mining Supplies, and my website is richierichesminingsupplies.com. I want to say, don't forget to get over here to Relic Radio, sign up for that metal detector giveaway. Tell Kelly Co. you heard about it here on their show, because I think them sponsoring this is fantastic, and you guys are doing an awesome job promoting our sports out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And our success is people like you and Rob and Denny and everybody else that we've had on as guests over the last 2 years. I never dreamed that we would contact and be exposed to so many knowledgeable people when we first started. Did you, Jeff?
No, I mean, it's humbling. And we started, when you mentioned the podcast, and then I was like, well, yeah, that'd be okay. The next week we had a podcast, and I never knew it would go this far. I would never thought in a million years. And then 2 rednecks with a metal detector, then it turned out 2.5 rednecks with a metal detector. And then now look how far we went. And thanks to Mark Hoover. I mean, I don't know, he knows everybody from coast to coast around the world. So, I mean, thank you very much, Mark, and then thanks to all our listeners. I mean, we wouldn't be here without you guys.
And, Rich, I put most of your links. I didn't put your phone number in there, but I put most of your links in the description on this video here. And then we will share this on our Facebook groups. And then you feel free to share this show as well. And hopefully you'll get some people that come your way and get what they need to get started in this wonderful world of trying to find treasure. Whether you get rich or not, you get rich in the enjoyment of the search. And
in the others that are doing it. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you've been a great guest, and we appreciate it tonight. And like Jeff said, appreciate everybody that has joined the show. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. And, Rich, if you'll stay on, as soon as I close the show tonight, we'll say our goodbyes there. Appreciate Jeff being on here with me tonight. Appreciate Mark handling the chat and sending us all the messages. It's a group effort. I tell you what, there's a whole lot goes on behind the scenes of this show that most of you never see or know about. But we've kind of got it down to a science now. It's working good for us, and that's because you guys come back to listen to us each week. And we just, Mark keeps finding these great guests for us, and then they become friends, and then they start calling in, and it's just a vicious circle, and we love it. But if you like podcasts like this, go check out Beyond Sight and Sound with Josh Kimmel. He's on every Sunday night and Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. All Metal Mode with Mike Hare and Gypsy Jules is on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. American Digger Relic Roundup is on Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. And that is Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert and myself. And then Hardcore Metal Detecting with Derek Asklar and Craig Talley. They have a show every Thursday and Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then XP Team USA has a show every other Friday night with Dave Kimball and Grant Hansen, and that's on at Friday at 8 p.m. Hey, go over to the RELICS Radio Facebook group page. I have pinned the contest right at the top of the page. It ends September the 26th. Some lucky listener, thanks to Calico Metal Detectors, is going to own a Simplex Plus. And you will know how great this machine is because you're going to have one in your hand. And, guys, we need 3 more people to join RELICS Radio's Facebook group, and that will put us at 1,000. Go and do that for us tonight, and we'll see you next Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern right here on RELICS Radio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on RELICS Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker, or you can catch the archive show at RELICS Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other podcast outlets. RELICS Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggin' with 7 or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our RELICS Radio Facebook group page or Adventures in History on Facebook. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you'll join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.